Hello and welcome to CNN IBN, the beautiful game. Yes, football has returned to its spiritual home, Brazil. Just under 5 hours from now, we will be ready for the kickoff of the first game as hosts Brazil in their quest for a 6th World Cup title, and that too for the first time at home will take on Croatia in their opening group encounter. And joining me, as always, are two esteemed gentlemen. Novi Kapadia, the voice of Indian football. Ask him anything about football and he'll be ready to give you the answer in a jiffy. And also, one of the finest tactical coaches in Indian club football, Karim Ben-Sharifa, who is this time in this season will be spearheading Pune FC. Welcome to Karim and Novi. Welcome to the show. But before we get to Karim and Novi, let's take you through what is on the menu tonight. Yes, this is the first game, Brazil versus Croatia. It starts, remember, at 1:30, that is India time. That's past midnight, if I could say it, Friday morning. But tonight we are saying, because we'll all be up right in front of our TV screens, Brazil versus Croatia. That's the game. We are definitely ready for Samba Soccer. Are you? Novi Kapadia, football back to its spiritual home. And the first game tonight, the host Brazil versus Croatia. Massive pressure of expectation on Brazil, surely, for this one.
Yes, lot of pressure, and you know, there have been major upsets sometimes. I mean, we saw Argentina losing to Cameroon, France getting upset by Senegal. And you know, 8 years ago, Brazil played Croatia in the Germany World Cup. Wasn't the first game of the tournament, but the first game of Group B. And it was a narrow win. Just Kaká scored 1 goal. So I think first games are going to be cautious. I don't see more than a goal or a couple of goals.
Karim Ben-Sharifa, opening thoughts? Big pressure not only on the Brazil but also on Neymar, because he's the wonder kid, he's the biggest name in Brazil. And also, all this talk which has been given by Pelé that yes, he could be my rightful successor, he's the key to win the World Cup, that could actually add to the pressure on him a little bit.
Definitely, the pressure is on Brazil, the pressure is on Neymar. You talked about Pelé, he gave the best advice to Neymar that you have to find a way to relax. So they are very confident, you know, before the game. The coach, the players have talked in a confident mood, but no doubt before the kickoff, the butterflies will be on their stomach.
Butterflies will surely be in the stomach. But also, interestingly, Novi, Zico has said that Brazil should be like Muhammad Ali. Land the first punch. It should be as hard as possible. The moment you do it, you get off to a flyer, and that's the right way to do it.
Well, Brazilian football is float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. They don't rely on power only. So, yes, they would definitely want to make that impact in the first half. And I think the president of Brazil, Dilma Rousseff, would be really happy if they can give her sort of hope for the future and, you know, take the minds off social unrest.
Right, and she will also be a little bit scared for her job, because just in case Brazil loses in spite of all these protests, then possibly she might lose her job. All right, let's now take you through the team which Karim Ben-Sharifa said this is the likely starting 11. Julio Cesar, yes, a lot of consternation about him, but yes, he is still there. Marcelo, Luis, Thiago, Dani Alves, followed up by Gustavo and Paulinho, who is most likely to play a very, very interesting role. And there we have the man on your screens, Neymar, along with Fred, Oscar and Hulk, which promises a formidable forward line for Brazil. Novi, you're happy with this team? Would you go with this 11, or would you change and maybe bring in somebody else? Are you okay with the selection of Karim?
No surprises. I think that's what Scolari will do, because he's preferring, you know, the team which won the Confederation Cup. And Brazil, for years, have played with these two defensive midfielders, Gustavo and Paulinho, who are very vital, and an attacking team, Hulk, Fred and Neymar. If it doesn't work out, Sanjeev, then I think they'll bring in Williams or Fernandinho to strengthen midfield.
All right, Karim Ben-Sharifa, you have got the telestrator in front of you. Show us, first of all, how does the Brazil's offensive midfield play tonight?
Well, I think they will start with the 4-2-3-1 formation.
Right.
We did explain that Carlos will play a big role behind Fred. We will see both Neymar and Hulk getting the necessary attack and support for Fred.
Right.
And at the midfield, these two are very important as well, because Gustavo, I think he will sit just in front of the back four, give that balance for in case there is a counter attack, and Paulinho will also add that support to the attack. The flanks, the width, definitely we have two good side backs, Marcelo and Alves
Daniel.
that will support and create the width.
It is here I want to ask a question because Karim, what is obvious is that whenever you talk about Brazil, you talk about offense.
Yes.
Yes, they're a good defensive side, but there is a concern which in fact Zico himself has raised, that when Marcelo and Dani Alves, when they hit their pedals and when they're moving up, the problem is for David Luiz and Thiago Silva. They leave too much of space here in the wings. How do they counter that? Because that could be very difficult for them against this Croatian midfield.
Very spot on question, because when you attack, you have to prepare a balance for your defensive setup as well. And here, as you rightly said, these spaces that left by Marcelo and Alves are very crucial. And the problem that sometimes the two centre backs they stay in this position. So definitely Croatia can use in the counters these spaces. So in my opinion, definitely when Brazil is attacking, it's very important for to shift a little bit on the side, and also it's very important that Gustavo stay a little bit. And we can have
closer to the
three players in case something happens.
But here, this is one final quick word. The fact is that, yes, Croatia will be missing Mandzukic, but he is the player with the pace and obviously the build. He could have exploited these two areas as you're showing.
Absolutely. I mean, if we can see, Croatia most probably will come with a 4-4-2, and with the Mandzukic couldn't play here, but he's suspended. So there is a possibility to have Edward, that they have options, and one attacking, one the striker will be behind. So it's a 4-4-1-1, a bit defensive, dropping back, and again creating, trying to use these spaces that we talk about on the counter, either by the run of the two strikers, but also a quick support from the midfield.
Fantastic analysis there from Karim. That's the reason you are here. Novi, on the other hand, yes, while we talk about tactics and formation is most important, but the fact is that this Brazil team has got these fantastic stories. Look at, everybody talks about Fred, Neymar and Paulinho, etc., etc. But I was reading about the story of Hulk. The fact is that his family was so poor that people had to work 3 or 4 different shifts to give him money to buy breakfast. He used to play football bare-chested, barefoot, literally on a place littered with pebbles, and the prize was just one ice cream. Those are the stories, or possibly those are the circumstances which have helped create such giants of the game.
Yes, it also, adds to the romance of the World Cup. And I mean, the World Cup, you always enjoy these rags to riches stories because it's certainly, and it makes Brazil, that's why such a popular country all over the world as a football playing country.
Right.
Because you have these, these stories of people like Hulk.
Right.
And also that it's a blending of different cultures. The Brazil have incorporated the dance and rhythm that is so popular in their culture into their football. That's why you have those body swerves, you have people being able to shield the ball very well, bring their body in front of the ball. So Brazil is always an attractive team, and I think Scolari will go for attack, so to sort of get in the first blow.
Right, and Novi, also the fact is that as, yes, people are, every time when we talk about big teams, yes, we pick out our stars, we choose our stars. This time for Brazil, definitely Neymar, but Neymar alone will not be able to do it. Ronaldinho failed to do. He was in a similar position, so much of hype in 2006. The entire team has to come forward, and as Karim was explaining, the way they play, that Marcelo and Neymar's link up, that is, very, very important. Those are these particular combinations which Brazil plays, which is very different from any style in the world.
Yes, these attacking fullbacks, we've seen Cafu and Roberto Carlos, I mean, right from the Alma Santos, Nilton Santos, and, the great Junior. So they've got to have defensive midfielders covering them. I agree with Karim that Paulinho would be very vital because he has to cover up those spaces because the European teams will counter-attack. See, Luka Modric and Ivan Rakitic are really outstanding midfielders. Accuracy in passing. I saw Rakitic, flick the ball over Pepe, Atletico Madrid versus Real Madrid, and then give a delightful through pass. He's in the peak of his form. And they have a wonderful midfield. That 20-year-old Kovacic is also in outstanding form.
All right, remember, you can also join in on this conversation as the Football World Cup kicks off here on CNN IBN. All you've got to do is tweet using the hashtag and then World Cup. Yes, get it right, WORLDSCUP. Tweet hashtag World Cup, and your tweet might just get featured on the show here on CNN IBN. Well, now, time to head into a short break. As we do, Here is the man who at 22 is a superstar in Brazil and also their biggest hope. But will he live up to the expectations? For one final time, Neymar and his magic. Welcome back to the beautiful game. Now, the Football World Cup is the most unique sporting event in the world. It captivates fans and audiences across all time zones and age groups. But the World Cup has created a sharp divide in soccer-crazy Brazil. The 2014 World Cup promises to be an installment of the good, the bad and the ugly, which played out in front of the entire world as the two opposites collide.
For many, it was the ultimate high, the pinnacle of football returning to the land which has been its most successful exponent. Brazil, the only team to win 5 world titles. A country where the national mood is directly proportional to the fortunes of the national team. But that image has been shattered over the last 1 year.
We enjoy more absolute freedom and we coexist with popular demonstrations and demands that help us improve every day. Our democratic institutions that support us in guaranteeing the right to demonstrate and to curb excesses and radicalism of any kind.
The anger on the streets has been simmering for a while now, and it first made an appearance during the Confederations Cup last year. Brazilians have been questioning the massive spending on infrastructure for the World Cup as well as the 2016 Olympics, which will be held in Rio de Janeiro. Most of the protests have been peaceful. Some have turned ugly.
From 2010, when construction in the stadium started, until 2013, the federal, state and municipal governments invested about $762 billion in education and healthcare.
The other major concern has been the state of the infrastructure. Even though the stadiums have somehow limped over the line, work still goes on outside. A subway strike in Sao Paulo, which hosts the first game, has been suspended. But union workers have threatened to strike again on match day, which could lead to chaos.
The subway workers, and not just them really, many others in our country, want to show to those coming here from around the world the way things really are here. I believe this, in terms of infrastructure, we have never been ready to really handle the people coming here.
Not just on the field but off it too, Brazil holds its breath as the countdown nears zero. With Digvijay Singh Dio, Deepika Kaura.
In the words of a very accomplished writer, this is possibly the place where passion and empathy collide. Novi Kapadia, there is possibly no other place which it finds itself in such a greater sense of disconnect than on the very margins of society which Brazil is facing. People are poor, there are housing problems, they have been removed from their places, they have been dislocated, they are protesting about every possible thing, including taxes, and yet there is a World Cup going on.
Yes, there's a World Cup. I think, our Commonwealth Game 2010 organizers may be breathing a bit of a sigh of relief that, problems exist even in Brazil, the home of football. But on a more serious note, globalization...
But these are more serious problems. These are certainly more serious problems in Brazil. And it's been going on for not 1 but 7 years.
You see, the feel-good factor that was expected when Brazil hosted the World Cup, and that they'd be in fantasy land, that's not happening. People are aspirational, as the results of our general elections have shown. And so, they want much more than just football as a way of escape and getting into a fantasy land.
Right.
So this is a wake-up call for world leaders all over, and for sports organizers also. You've got to have sensible budgets.
Sensible budget. 60% tax on electricity, 55% on telephone bills, 40% on water, and all fares, bus fares are also taxed. That is the sort of problem which a Brazilian actually faces, and that is something which we all need to understand when we talk about Brazil problems. Yes, we have on our screens shots of the opening ceremony which will come up in just a bit. Pitbull and Jennifer Lopez. Karim, what about your moves? You were just practicing them in the break. Why don't you show it us for our viewers? Come on, Karim, come on. Let's go.
I just like the celebration of Neymar. He will be in a better.
Why
I hope
he
he scored tonight, and then we get this celebration in a good way.
So over the next 30 days, we can expect Karim and Sharifa to be teaching all these moves and a little bit more of the samba to Novi Kapadia. Let's wish that someday these guys will become dancing stars also, besides being football guests on CNN IBN. Time for us to go. Novi Kapadia, Karim and Sharifa Always a pleasure having you and kicking off the World Cup programming here on CNN IBN in such great style. Time for us to leave. We leave you though with images from Rio de Janeiro as the iconic Christ the Redeemer statue is lit up ahead of the World Cup kickoff in Sao Paulo later tonight. Remember, this is the Cup of Life.